So I'll start my introduction by talking about my background right from the beginning, from my school days. So I am Aditya Madhavan. I am born and brought up in Bangalore throughout my life. I have always been a Bangalore boy, but I speak Tamil at home. I also know Kannada because I've lived here all my life. But I also took up my second language as Hindi, so I know a bit of Hindi as well. To top all of that, we always communicate in English throughout my schooling and my PUC as well as my college. So I know English as well. So that makes it four languages. So my schooling was done in a school very, very close to my home. It's called Florence Public School. And in my school days, up until primary, I was always involved in some or the other cultural activities in the first place. And apart from that, I was always looking out to becoming to pick up roles like leadership roles, like the class representative or a volunteer for any of the sports events or cultural events, etc. And in my sixth and seventh standard, I was the IT secretary and president for our IT club in my school. When it came to high school, 8th, 9th, and 10th, I took up more significant leadership roles. For example, in my ninth standard, I was voted by the entire student body to become the ICSE prefect. So in my school, we have two branches, ICSE and State Board. So within the ICSE student body, I was elected to become the prefect. And in my 10th standard, within the entire student body, I was elected to become the secretary of the student council. So all throughout my schooling, I have always been into organizing fests, cultural programs, and all sorts of functions. And as soon as I finished my 10th standard, I scored pretty well as well. I scored a 93.5%. After which I moved into my PUC in Yelahanka, which is again in Bangalore, in this place called Diksha. There was this craze of everybody wanting to join IITs, and that craze was part of me as well. So because all of my peers were doing so, even I joined the coaching called Diksha, where they were coaching for JEE mains and advanced. So over here, even though the curriculum was very rigorous, I still wanted to be a part of other things. So then we in Diksha, there is this annual cultural festival called iCube. So I headed it. I was the chairperson. Again, I was elected as well as nominated by the faculty to be the chairperson for that event. And that 1 year, that event happens in the month of, I think, August or September. And I took that up, even though we had a lot of academic rigorous portions to complete. And side by side, I took this up and I organized the fest, which is a big techno-cultural bonanza. And after that, I passed out in my 12th standard with a 94.83 percentile. Percentage, sorry, not percentile. So right after this, I practiced for my CET exam, and then I got in to RV College of Engineering, which is again in Bangalore. So all throughout my life, you will see this consistent factor of being in Bangalore. So in RVC, again, I could never let go of my other tendencies to be a part of extracurricular activities. So I picked up new different things. So I joined a lot of clubs in my first year. I was taking part in theater as well as dance clubs, and I did really well there. But then I thought there is something more that I can contribute to this college. And so me and a friend of mine, we started this platform called TEDx RVC. I'm pretty sure you must have heard of TED, which is a global platform. So TEDx is like a part of TED, and it is independently organized by different communities like colleges and different townships as well. So we began TEDx RVC from scratch, right from logistics to sponsorship to making the teams, the entire aspect of it. We covered it all. And then we brought in our first major event in college in my second year. And in my third year, we continued it, and then we built the team. So which started as like a 10-member team, we built it into a more structured 40-member team in the second year. And then finally in the fourth year, we handed it over and ensured a smooth process of transfer to our juniors as well. And till today, I'm very proud to say that TEDx RVC is still running, and it has amassed over 150,000 views on the TED's YouTube channel for all the talks that we have showcased in TEDx RVC. Apart from that, I was also I also co-founded and headed the IEEE RVC student body. I was the vice chairman for it for 1 year in 2018. Basically, what we had to bring up all the circuit branches together, and we had to start showcasing and funneling more talent into innovation and drive innovation. So while doing so, we made more events happen, more conferences happen within our own college, and also we took part in a lot of conferences outside of college. And not just this, because of this constant intermingling between with technologists in the space, I could also make and present my own paper in a Springer proceedings on non-volatile memory. So that was a great thing again. And apart from that, like I said, I was always part of dance and theater. So I again was part of this new team that formed called Carve Access in my college, where it was the first time ever that in my college we had begun a filmmaking club. And since then, I have always had a love for filmmaking, and I've always been a part and parcel. Part of me has always been a filmmaker. So all throughout my since my college days, I've always carried my phone, at least my phone, with me, and whatever I see, I just keep capturing it so that someday I can make a film out of it. So then I completed my RVC education, and I scored a 9.26 CGPA. And after that, I took up an internship in TI, Texas Instruments, which is where I currently work today. And in my internship, I was asked to do a lot of analogish circuits that I learned in my college. And then what I noticed was it kind of opened my doors and horizon to how much more is there to the subject than just what we have studied in college. So I really liked my internship, and the final internship presentation went really well. And then they had offered me the PPO after that. Then I got into TI, and I work today as an analog design engineer in the NVM memory team. So the NVM, I'm very specific in talking about the NVM team. This is because the paper that I wrote during my time in college, during the IEEE time, was also on non-volatile memories. It was phase change memories. So this team, again, it was a nice intermixing of what I did in college to what I'm doing today in my work. When it comes to work, I have been working for around 2.5 years. And I have also, again, it's very simple, and you'll see this throughout my life, that I cannot just simply do what is the set thing to be done, that is either work or just study. So I had to go and pick up new things to do, extracurricular things to do. So here too, in my first year itself, I organized the TI India Day, which is basically this huge cultural festival of TI India. So all over India, all the TI offices come together in Bangalore, and then we have this big cultural program. It's a cultural fest. It's a single day fest. So I led a team of around 30 members, and we made it happen. That was the first thing. And then ever since that happened, my HR, all of the HRs in office started to know me more. And then they have started inviting me to more and more events. And not just that, I take part in a lot of CSR events in office as well. So we had this, this happened in my internship itself. So we had this program where we were, my office was distributing school kits to children in the rural areas. So I took part and led a team during my internship itself to this small rural town called Ankola, it's a district in Karnataka, which is in the coastal regions. So I took a team of, I think, around 10 people, and we took up our school kits, whatever we had to be distributing, and we distributed it to around 10 schools over there. So it was a very, very good experience. We got to meet a lot of children, and their expressions of happiness was really worth it. Apart from that, in my office, I also contribute a lot as a technologist working in the analog side of things. So there is a lot of times where, you know, you have to really have a lot of discussions with your customers and stuff. So what happens is, I take complete initiative to drive talks and also to ensure proper knowledge transfers happen. So I end up presenting a lot of presentations to my departments, which is like consists of around, I think, 150 people. So I do that every now and then. So a lot of new topics come up, and then I go ahead and present as and when it happens. So I initiate a lot of things in that sense. Apart from, so during my office days, apart from just office, I also you know, took part in as a volunteer in this organization, not for profit organization called Make a Difference, where I basically taught school children who live in shelter homes, basically orphanages, where you know, they wanted some extra help in the teaching that they need, because they do not get enough time because of all the different things that happens around in an orphanage. So I went there and I used to teach there every week for 2 years now. And it has been a very, very enriching experience. I used to teach first English, and then I moved on to teaching mathematics. And one thing that I can say for sure is the pandemic did not deter us, because even during the pandemic, we ensured that we could get some donations of mobile phones or tablets from different people, very you know, nice people in Bangalore, and we could give them to these shelter homes, so that, you know, these students can still come up online. We even set up Wi-Fi routers in their different shelter homes, so that these children can come up online, and then we can teach them even in the virtual mode. It actually added a little nice thing to it, because we could also show them very educational YouTube videos, and that kind of helped us in our teaching mode also. And it also was really enjoyed by the kids. So that was another great thing. So that's about what happened until in my office for about 2 years. And then the beginning of this year and all through the pandemic, I've always had the thought of, is this what I really want to do? So is the idea of being a technologist, of going and pursuing analog or digital design, is what I want to do. But then when I really look back and evaluate my life, I see that all throughout my life, I've always kept a consistent, persistent nature to do something which is like a leadership role, or which, you know, always has to be something broad, like keep doing different things parallelly. And this got me thinking that, you know, is it really the right thing for me throughout my life? So because the career is a very big long haul, and and if I get a good foundation today, then I will be able to really drive it miles ahead later. So then I basically spoke to my managers, my colleagues, my friends, and I asked them for, you know, what they think are my strengths and my weaknesses. And they came out and they told me a few of my strengths, a few of my weaknesses. But then what really caught my attention was the fact that every single person spoke about a particular strength, that I have very, very good people skills, very, very good soft skills, and also very good presentation and data analysis skills. And all these things got to my attention, the fact that consultants and the consulting world really need these certain qualities that everybody considered as my strength. And then I started researching more, and then I really found out that, you know, this is a job that I would really, really like. And, you know, I would really not want to leave it, because every day you're learning something new. You from one year to another year, you keep changing industries, and you really have to put in the work from scratch, like, and you have to build everything from scratch, your knowledge and your documentation, everything. So I felt that the consulting world was a very good deal for me. And so then came the time where I started thinking about doing an MBA. So when it came to that, again, the options were, you know, do it in India or do it abroad. So then, yeah, considering everything, I was like, the opportunities that are present abroad is much more than what may be present here today in India. But there is also a fact that I personally believe that India is the market of the future. And the only way that I could make sense of this entire trajectory was if I wrote the GMAT, and if I could, like, you know, first of all, see what I'm scoring, then I'll be able to make a more clear judgment on whether to go abroad or to you know, pursue my MBA in India. And all these things got me thinking, and then I finally, prepared for my GMAT. And then I finally, I think 1.5 weeks ago, I took it, and then I scored a 720 in GMAT. And then just 2 days later, I took my TOEFL as well, and I scored a 111. So that's been my story till today. Today, I'm here talking to you guys. Hello, everyone. So I've been asked to give you some test strategies that I took before I wrote my GMAT exam. So I think the first biggest thing that I did, which I think some people might want to do, some might not want to do, but I think it really worked for me, was I booked my date first. I booked the date of my GMAT, say 2 months from the date where I decided that I am going to take my GMAT. What this did to me mentally was that I had no other option now but to really start preparing. Because if you do not book your exam date, it's not like CAT, because CAT happens once a year, and then that this is when it's happening, and then you have to start preparing for so many months, for 6 months or so on. But GMAT is not like that. It's, first of all, you can book it any time of the year. And so because of that leeway, we sometimes tend to really relax and not really perform to the best of our abilities when we do not book our exam. That was the case for me. So what I did was, the first thing I did, I booked the exam 2 months from when I decided. And then that's when it mentally registered in my head that, oh my God, it's serious now. Now it's time to start preparing. So the first thing that I did was I took a diagnostic test for myself, just to see. I did not prepare. I did not go through anything. Just to see where I currently stand. So I think I asked EduShastra for a full-length GMAT test, and they provided me one. And then that was a very big reality check for, first of all, one reason, that it has been around 3 years since I ever wrote an exam. And I finally understood how taxing it is. It kind of like reminded me again how taxing it is to write an exam for 3+ hours at a stretch. And then that itself was like a big change in mind in that diagnostic test that I took. But apart from that, I really understood that I'm weak at so many different levels. So I scored a 520 in my first diagnostic test. It was very, very bad. And what I noticed was both my quantitative as well as my verbal section was pretty bad. And then, the most important thing to do right after taking your test is to see where exactly you're going wrong, what exactly is happening. That's when I really found out that, in the quantitative part of things, I had absolutely no clue on how to tackle a data sufficiency question, because it was the first time I had ever seen such a question. And the more I thought about it, the more during the exam, the more weird it was in my head. Like, I didn't know, because I'm getting two different answers, does that mean I pick the option as A, or do I pick the option as E? So that kind of confusion was really happening for me. And another thing that I noticed in the diagnostic test was that I'm very bad at my own fundamentals in quantitative aptitude as well as verbal aptitude. So this diagnostic test really gives you a clear picture of where you are right now when you're just going to start preparing for your GMAT, and this will give you a good a note of seriousness, or it'll make it very clear to you that this is how you need to start building and focusing, because this is where you are right now. So then once I took the diagnostics test, that's when I realized, yes, my basics are bad, because it's been more than like many years that the last time I gave any aptitude test was the JEE and CET exams. So then it's been so many years. So you know what, you're very rusty. So the most important thing now is to start looking at your basics and start like revising your fundamentals. So that's when the classes came into picture, where I really took up all of the classes quite seriously. It was at 6 a.m. in the morning, and I was not used to waking up so early. But then you have already booked your exam. It's 2 months from now, so then you just force yourself to get up, and then that's when you start building a habit of start listening to the lectures once again. You become a student once again. So then basically the classes mixed with some material ensured that, you know, some amount of my basics knowledge returned back in my head for both quantitative as well as verbal. So as soon as this happened, I kind of got a little bit confident enough, maybe, you know, to write the test once again. Now this was a mistake. It didn't drastically improve, though it did improve. Already taken a test for 3 hours for the first time, and then you're more mentally prepared to take a 3-hour test once again. And the second thing is, you have now started putting in effort. You know, you've brushed up some of your basics, so you've started improving in your score. So from a 520 score in my second test, I went up to a 580 score. Now, this shift, though it's not much, for me personally, it was great because I could see some improvement. So one thing I really feel is, if you keep taking tests in like regular intervals, maybe once in 2-3 weeks, and if you're seeing gradual, very gradual, but slight improvements, and these improvements do not have to be, you know, improvements completely. So if your quant is like here and your verbal is here, both do not need to jump. If you see that, you know, from one test to another, you have performed good in quant, but not so great in verbal, it shows you that you are still improving in one place because you've given some focus into that particular thing. So it's a good thing, I feel. It gives you more confidence and morale as you keep going, as the days keep progressing. Now, from the second test, what happened was, I understood that, you know, even 580 is not a very good score. So what exactly is going wrong? I thought I thought the exam just tests you in your fundamentals and basics, but where exactly am I going wrong? That's when it occurred to me in my head that, you know, just learning the basics, or, you know, the fundamentals of the different concepts is not enough. You need to be in a zone of taking tests. So with that being said, you need to be able to solve more and more problems. So just listening to classes or just reading some material is not enough. So you will start solving problems. So then this is when I thought, okay, fine, I should probably get a book or something where some material where, you know, there are a lot of problems, and then every single day I will solve some amount of problems. So I began by taking this official guide. I think it was the 2019 official guide, which was there in a library. So I took that up, and then I was like, I'll just solve 10 mathematics questions and 10 verbal questions every single day. And that's how it went, I guess, for another 20 days. I did that. So then after that, there came a point where, you know, it was, I think like less than, it was like, I think 25 days I had for my exam, and I had not taken a test after the first two tests. So I was like freaking out a little bit. So I thought, okay, you know what, let me take another test. And then when I took this test, I didn't take it from EduShastra's material. I was like, you know what, let's try the official GMAT prep test, where, you know, in their own website, they have it. So I took that test. And then this time, after, you know, really solving a lot of questions for around 20 days, every day, 10 questions in quant and 10 questions in verbal, I started like getting into the zone of, you know, really to start solving problems. And then I also, that was in the starting phase. And then slightly I tweaked it a bit from 10 questions, because I started feeling that I'm capable of, you know, handling more questions. So then I moved on to, you know, 15-20 questions in, you know, quantitative and verbal. One thing I really saw and felt was, on certain days it might just not be possible for you, given your work schedule or other things, to, you know, really solve and stick to your regime that you've built. But that's okay, it's very human. And what I did was, on the weekends, I just compensated for it. I just solved way more problems. So if you look at the quantitative and the verbal sections in the official guide, they have like answer keys as well as answer solutions. So what I did was, I started solving more questions, and then I just go back and look into those answer key first. And if I'm getting it right, then it's probably the tendency to, you know, forego the question, especially in verbal. But what I did was, even though I got it right, I started looking at, you know, why exactly did I get it right? Was it just a guesswork in my head, or was it the wrong kind of thought process that I was having? So then I started looking at the answer solutions as well. So these were the few tweaks that I did to my problem solving strategies as and when the timeline kept getting nearer, closer and closer. Now, when that happened, I finally took the official GMAT test, the first test, and I got a 670. And this was like a huge morale boost for me because I moved from 520 to 580 to 670. And this like really showed me that, practice definitely helps. And, the more you get into the groove of practicing, the more you get into the groove of solving and, spending more time just making your mind to work more mentally, it really helps. And I think that's when I got some more confidence in my abilities. And then from then on, I just was like, you know what, if I could score a 670 with so much time, then probably if I can just push myself a little bit more, then I can score something more. So this is when I started looking at other options on where exactly I'm going wrong in the different minute sections of the entire GMAT. So I looked at first the problem solving part. So in problem solving, what I could see was it was only the silly mistakes that I used to do where, some or the other thing used to go wrong. And even in data sufficiency, it was silly mistakes. So basically for me, I understood that in the quantitative part of things, the amount of effort you're putting mentally to tackle a very challenging problem is not that high. But that is also the biggest problem about the entire quantitative section. Because of the fact that you think, okay, this is not that great of a problem, we tend to really miss very minute details in the problem. For example, the problem would just start off by saying X is a positive number. Okay, but you would just not pay attention to the fact that it says positive number. It might sound very silly, but while you're taking the test and after having solved like 10 different questions, you're coming to the 11th question, you're not really, and you would have got maybe the 9th and 10th question correctly. And then you are also getting some kind of moral boost in your head. And then that would make you kind of miss out on certain key points in the question. So I felt really that, paying close attention to every single question, even though deep down in your heart that that question is very, very simple, you need to put in that effort, extra bit of effort to just force yourself to read through the question properly. So that was the key takeaway for me from quantitative. From the second thing, that is in verbal, I felt that I am very strongly into reading books, and so I had no issues at all in the reading comprehension part of things. So what I felt was, if you have like enough time with you, maybe even more than 2 months, then I guess the best thing to do is just pick up books and start reading more and more books, because that would get you into a groove of quickly being able to analyze a big passage and being able to solve the questions. Because I think the only thing that is there in the reading comprehension section is that your ability to understand that entire passage thoroughly, and that happens when you are daily reading something. So you can read newspapers, magazines, anything that captures your interest. So read daily. I think that is the best strategy for reading comprehension. There's nothing better than that. So I think even if you have just 2 months, every single day, if you put in effort to read for 30 to 45 minutes any topic, so you can even pick up topics that are related to MBA, so that it can help you later on also. I did that, and it was like very interesting in the sense that it's helping you in both ways, for GMAT as well as for your future plans. So that way I kind of combated reading comprehension, because I used to read. And then critical reasoning, initial days I had lots of issues with it. But then as and when I started understanding which portion in the text is the conclusion and which portion in the text is the preface to the conclusion, once you can it's like detective investigation. Once you can really pinpoint which part of the passage is conclusion, which part of the passage is a preposition, by preposition I mean the which is not the conclusion, then you will understand the entire flow. You'll start to get the flow of reading critical reasoning. and the questions are, it starts getting simpler in your head also. There are times where, the questions can get very, very tricky. No doubt about it, the answer options get tricky, but the point in GMAT is not to get all the things, right, because there's a time limit also, and this is the case with every exam. So your main focus should be to target, at least, 85 plus 90 plus percents in all of the different sections, at least as you begin, and you set the target for yourself, right? So depending on what your target is, you need to aim for that, because sometimes the question is just extremely hard, or it's like it's set in a way where all of the answer options seem very, very same, and even when you read the answer solution, you might not naturally agree with what the answer solution says. So there can be times where that happens, but most of the cases, if you just understand where the conclusion is, what the entire passage is trying to tell you, I think these are very key points of critical reasoning. And I guess the strategy for this would be just solve problems, as many problems as you can. I think official guide is a very, very good starting and ending point for it, because as you do the question, if you go finish the question, maybe do 10 questions, and then go and look at every single question, even though you got it right, look at what is the reasoning behind, for you to get it right or to get it wrong. I think that helps a lot for critical reasoning. Now, my biggest, I think, weakness in the entire GMAT exam was sentence correction. And no matter how much I tried, no matter whatever strategies or, how much ever problems I solved, I was just not able to score enough in my sentence correction part. I always used to land in that 60% to 65% ballpark. And it was like really stopping my score from, crossing the 700 mark. But for me, I never had an issue with subject verb agreement, but I always had an issue with parallelism, and I had absolutely no idea how to target it. So what I did was I just focused on the idioms part of things, so that my score would get boosted up. And because the time also was very low, that's what I went ahead and did. And like I said, the end goal needs to be how well you can maximize your score. And that's how I went ahead with the last 1 week, using all of these strategies. And then finally I took the in the one interesting thing was the 4 days before my actual exam, I took up the second GMAT official practice test in their website, and I got a 720 in their practice test. And then I was super happy. But then I was like, you know what, I have 4 more days. Let me just somehow squeeze in all the time that I can to really prepare harder, so that, I can score much more in the final test. So what happened though in that time was like, no matter how much more, it's like I got saturated at a point. So you need to ensure that you do not push yourself to that saturation limit. So keep yourself well engaged all throughout the 2 months, so that you never reach that saturation point. Because after that, when you reach the saturation, right, you will not be able to stuff in more stuff. So what you can do is you just take breaks, take very good breaks. I think, breaks as in don't go watch TV and all, like maybe, relax your time by doing, like, I don't know, playing some game outside. Or now we cannot go outside, but I think, what I used to do was I used to just have a ball, and I used to just keep throwing it on the wall. But yeah, towards the end, I reached that saturation point. So ensure that you never reach it, and you keep pushing yourself every single day by 1% keeps compounding. So I think those were the strategies for quant and verbal. For IR, I think the best strategy is to just pick up the questions that for sure that you can do. And IR is just like, it has 12 questions, and if you just solve a few practice sets, you will understand which are the questions you're very comfortable with, which you can solve in, like, very small span of time. And you will pick those 8 to 9 questions that you can really do, and you will be able to ace IR. I got an 8 in IR, and I used the same strategy of just go through the different question types. And in your IR exam, when you get the question type, the first question type to be the one that you're not so familiar with, just try being as fast as you can with it, because there are other question types that you are more comfortable with. Do not spend too much time on something that you think you're not going to get, because I think that's the best strategy for IR. And I think for AWA, read the different essays that have scored a 6 or 5.5 plus and a 6 plus, 6 and 5.5 plus essays, you will automatically get an idea of how the structuring needs to be. So there needs to be a starting introductory paragraph, and then there needs to be 3 solid points with examples. So the first paragraph, second paragraph, and third paragraph with 3 solid points and examples. And then finally, you will have the concluding paragraph. So this was the strategy that I followed for AWA. The important thing is to get very solid arguments against. So I think the best way I followed, it was a little funny way, but it's like I just pictured a person, maybe a person whom I'd always want to argue with, who is telling me that statement. And then I just want to find all sorts of reasons to just negate their idea. So as I did that kind of strategy, then I started getting more and more solid points that I can fit in there. And then I finally got a 5.5 in my AWA. So these were the strategies that I used to get my GMAT. Hi, everyone. I really found EduShastra's ability-based model to be very, very good. First of all, in the fact that they are not going to charge you extra fees. I mean, in the end of the day, we are always thinking about the financial aspect of things. So the fact that they're providing you with the education unlimited number of times in the foundation phase, to improve yourself every step is something really wonderful. And I think very few, or maybe I don't know any other institute that is doing this. So I think that's a very big thing, very great thing. Another thing that I really like is their the Facebook page where they provide certain live classes also for free, which is another amazing thing that I always believe that sometimes education needs to be really shared, and I think EduShastra does a wonderful job in doing that. Another thing that I really enjoyed, and it worked really well for me, was the fact that you can choose which time you want your class to be, and on which days, like you want it to be on the weekdays or on the weekends. So I basically chose the early morning in the weekday time because I wanted weekends for myself, and also maybe to do some more practice for myself. And weekday evenings, I am always caught up with meetings in my work, so I would never be able to really give time for this. So I'm very glad that they had this option of when you can take your classes. Another thing that I really liked was the adaptive tests. I have noticed that you get a lot of statistics once you write your test, and also it is known that once you write your test, it goes to the academics, and then they evaluate your test, and then the next test that you ask for, you will be provided with a much more slightly more difficult version, and you will be always tested to see if you're improving or not. And that is a very good thing that in the end of the day, they are still looking at our own personal improvement and development. So I'm very glad about that as well. One thing I think that really worked for me as a person who works in office almost more than 8 hours a day. So the thing that there are certain institutes where you have to give a test every week at a particular set time. But here I am very happy that it's a very adaptive model. So it's like, you can choose if you are able to give a test in a particular weekend. There is an entire space evaluation window that is given to you, which is like, I think for 24 hours, where, any time of that day, you can pick up and do the test based on how you are structuring your day. And I think that really helped me. And one more thing is like it gave the onus to me on when exactly I wanted to practice the tests and stuff. So these are things that I really enjoyed and liked about EduShastra. And I'm very glad that I joined EduShastra for my coaching for GMAT and CAT.